Be honest right now. Do you care about life or do you just hate women? Think about it. Really be honest with yourself. Because unborn fetuses are a very convenient group for you guys to fight for because they don't require anything from you. As soon as that child is born, you don't want any of your tax dollars going to them. You will never catch a pro life person fighting for social services being extended for low SES pregnant women and their children.
See, you got to be careful because you can't give people too much credit for diabolical plans because diabolical plans require a certain level of mental sophistication that a lot of people just simply lack. So, when we're talking about the reason to ban abortion, obviously you have more sophisticated plans to increase the white population. But outside of that, just your every average day Joe who's against a woman having access to abortion, they're not thinking that sophisticated. They're not thinking about that. They're boiling things down to just their inward kind of deep vitriol for women, and they're expressing it in a way that they can, in a way that they can relate to, in a way that they can justify because it lines up with some type of moral sense about protecting babies.
It's literally this performative activism of them getting on their moral high horse and lecturing everyone about how life is sacred and if you get an abortion, then you're immoral. But you don't save a life by just allowing it to be born.
Even if we're talking about, the 6 week abortion bans, the 15-week abortion bans, all these Republican states that are going line by line, outlawing abortion practically before many women would even realize that they're late or even realize that perhaps they're pregnant and should get things checked out. Again, this just comes from your typical vitriol for men who really dislike women.
So if somebody doesn't want to have a child and doesn't want to be pregnant and you're forcing them to have that baby, either they're going to put it up for adoption, which isn't very good chances for that child having a good life, or you're forcing them to have a child that they don't want, and we're just going to exacerbate the issue of child abuse. And I'm telling you, it is a major issue.
Because again, I talked about how when you study movements and just human behavior more from a sociological perspective and not only look at it through a political lens, you really can kind of understand what drives people, why movements form in the first place, what really gets people going, what gets people inspired, what types of conditions in the economy and society can push people to do X, Y, or Z. And so again, like when you really look at a lot of these online spaces, specifically focused around dating, and I talk about dating all the time because people really, really just breeze over how big of a part of our everyday life that truly is. Sex, reproduction, family, all of that boils down to dating. But you look at these spaces like, a lot of these red pill communities and, even extremist feminist communities where there's just vitriol for the opposite sex, and so a lot of these movements, where you'll see, okay, your every average day Joe who's against abortion, what are they talking about? She doesn't want to have responsibility. She just wants to sleep around with everybody. So now they're mad because they want to. That's really where a lot of this comes from, again, for your everyday average Joe. So don't give too much credit to people who aren't sophisticated.
And you don't want your money to go to social programs to support that mother and child and improve their quality of life. Y'all have egos and you want to get on your moral high horse and fight for life and act like you're so much better than everyone else because you're pro life. But then as soon as that child is born, you could not care less about it. And that's
And myself, along with people all over the country on a variety of networks, have been pointing out the fact that this leak from the Supreme Court on Roe v. Wade really, really set the Republican Party back. At first, they were looking like they were going to rather easily roll over the Democrats in the midterms, but now that not to say that they won't still win at least one of the chambers. However, this certainly hurts them more than it could possibly help them because while certain elements of their radicalized base are on board with this, the country at large is not on board with banning abortions. This is extremely unpopular, which is why Republicans' strategy moving forward really is just to not talk about it as much as possible. Just don't talk about it as little as possible in as private ways as possible, because again, there's kind of a noose around their necks and the Democratic Party's necks as well as the entire United States. So the whole country has a noose around its neck, which again is why I always end these segments with saying that it's up to us, whether it be through the political process or just giving back to our communities in as good of ways as we can, because we can't allow the country to roll over and we just take it.